Hello everyone, my name is Ali Sharifara and this video is another part of the Introduction to Programming Using Java series. In this video, we are going to learn about Boolean expressions and conditionals. Let's get started. Let's first have a look at the Boolean type. The expressions of type Boolean can only have two values, true or false. By the way, true and false are the reserved keywords in Java, so we cannot use them as variable names. I'm going to begin this topic by writing one example. Let's head over to the IDE. I'm going to create a new class. I name it as Boolean expressions. I need to add the main method. And let me declare several variables here. The first one is double. A is equal to 4.3. Another variable, I name it as B, is equal to, let's say, 5.0. And this time, I'm going to declare another variable with the type of Boolean, right? So Boolean, let's name it as V1 is equal to A is less than, let's say, 5.3. And finally, I'm going to print the value of V1. V1 is equal to %B. The format specifier for printing Boolean is %B, right? B stands for Boolean. V1. So let's have a look at this. First of all, we have declared one variable, A. We assign 4.3 to this variable, and then we declare another variable, B. We have assigned number 5 to it. And in V1, which is a Boolean variable, we want to compare A with 5.3. And here we are saying that A is less than 5.3. Right? So let me declare another variable, Boolean. I name it as V2 is equal to A double equal sign B. I will explain about double equal sign. And we want to print the value of V2 is equal to %B \n. And we have V2. And let me declare another variable. I name it as V3 is equal to, this time I'm going to use A exclamation mark equal B, and we print the value of V3 is equal to %B, which is format specifier for Boolean. And finally, we write V3 here. All right, so let me change them to all lowercase letters. All right, so let me run this first and then I explain actually what is happening here. But in the output, we should see true or false, right? So this is the output. V1 is true. So let's see why V1 is true. We are comparing A with 5.3. So A is less than 5.3. What is the value of A? A is 4.3, which is true, right? So 4.3 is less than 5.3. That's why V1 is equal true. And the next expression, we compared A and B. Whenever we want to compare two numbers, we should use double equal sign. So it's different with just one single equal sign. We use single equal sign for assignment if we want to assign a value to a variable. But if we want to compare two numbers, we should use double equal sign. Right, so we are comparing A and B. Are they equal? The answer is no, or false, right? So that's why V2 is equal false here. And the last one, again, we are comparing A and B. but this time we are saying that A is not equal to B, right? This is the way that we want to say to Java that they are not equal. We are asking that, are they equal? And the answer is, so actually we are asking that they are not equal. If we use exclamation mark equal sign, it means that we are comparing that they are not equal. So we are saying to the Java compiler, they are not equal, right? So it says that yes, they are not equal. A is 4.3 and B is 5.0, so they are not equal. All right, so let's have a look at table for comparison of numbers. So if we want to compare numbers, we can use these operators. The first one is for equality. If we want to compare two numbers and we want to check whether they are equal or not, we use double equal sign, right? So that is the first one. And if we want to compare two numbers and we want to make sure and we want to see that whether they are not equal, we use this exclamation mark equal, or we can say not. And the next one is greater than, that we use this symbol. And if we want to say that it's greater than or equal to, we should use greater than symbol, equal, and similarly for less or less than or equal to, we use these symbols, less than or equal. So let's have a look at one example, another example of using these operators. Let's head over to the ID, and I'm going to delete these few lines. We have A and B, that's cool. I'm going to add one printf here, and I want to compare A and B in different ways. So A is equal to, I use percent dot 1f, comma, B is equal to percent dot 1f backslash n, and then we pass in A and B, right? So basically here we haven't done anything yet, right? So we just want to print the value of A and B. And in the next line, what I'm going to do, I want to compare A and B, right? So we want to see that if A is equal to B. So I need to change it here. A is equal B, and the answer is Boolean. I use %B, and I need to compare these two, right? So we want to compare, and the result of this comparison is, it can be either true or false, and it will be replaced with %B. So B here is the placeholder or format specifier for Boolean type. And the next one, I just copy and paste it here. We want to see if they are not equal to each other. So what I'm going to do is, I need to write A is not equal to B. This is just a message, this is just a text, but here we are actually doing the comparison. And the next one, I want to see that if A is greater than B, and here I need to change it to A is greater than B, and then we print the result. For the next one, I want to see if A is greater than or equal B, right? So if we want to compare this as well, the next will be, I want to check if A is less than B, and I need to change it as well. And the next line, I want to compare if A is less than or equal B. Here I also need to change it. All right, so let me run this and we will see the result. All right, so here is the result. And as you see here, we have printed the value of A and B initially. A is 4.3, and oh, what is M here? I don't need that one. Let me delete that, and I run it one more time. A is 4.3 and B is equal 5. Are they equal? And the answer is false, they are not equal. And we are checking if A is not equal B, it's true, yes, they are not equal. We are checking again if A is greater than B, and the result is false. A is not greater than B. Right, the next one, if A is greater than or equal B, again the answer is false because A is not. And for last two expressions here, we got true because A is less than B or B is greater than A, which is true. B is 5.0 and A is 4.3, so it's true. And obviously the next one is true because B or A is less than or equal B, or we can say B is greater than or equal A. This is a basic example of using all the comparisons or Boolean expressions that we can use for comparing numbers. All right, so another important point which I want to talk about is, let me delete these few lines here, and also we don't need this line. All right, let me declare one variable here. I name it as, just I want to use just example, C is equal to A is equal B. All right, so here let me also declare A and let's say A is equal, let me change the type to double, is 4.2, and the next one, sorry, I need to assign A is equal to this and B is equal to, let's say, 5.0. Okay, here we are comparing, and if I want to print the result %B, if you want to print C, this is totally fine here. What we have done here, we want to compare A and B. A is 4.2 and B is 5.0. We are comparing these two, and then we are assigning the result of A and B expression into C, variable C, and finally we want to print it. Here is totally fine, but when you assign a Boolean variable, we should use parentheses to make it easy to read your code. There is nothing wrong with this code, but it's a bit hard to read, especially for beginners, to understand what is going on, why we have several equal signs here. So even your code runs correctly without parentheses, parentheses are still recommended to make sure that you don't get confused. In this example, if I run this program, the output will be false because A is not equal to B. But if I use parentheses here, you make it easy to read your code. If you use parentheses, it will be easier to read and understand your code. So we should use parentheses wherever is needed. And also, if you want to do this kind of comparison, we don't have to declare a new variable. We can, as we have seen before, we can directly put the expression or the comparison in the printf or in the result or wherever we want. So we don't have to declare a new variable for that. All right, another example. Let's say we have A and B here, and I'm going to introduce another Boolean variable. And this time I'm going to use parentheses. I'm going to write here 5.4 minus, let's say, 3.8. And finally, we want to print the value of V1. Okay, so in this example, we have A and B, but we haven't used B here. Just we have A. A is 4.2, and here we have one calculation, right? So first we need to, actually the Java compiler first calculates this expression, which is 5.4 minus 3.8. Whatever the result will be, then it will be compared to A. A is less than this number, right? So 5.4 minus 3.8. And the result will be false because A is not less than this number. A actually is greater than the result of this expression, right? So if I run this, we will see that the output is false. Wherever we see this kind of comparisons, we should first compute the mathematic calculation, and after that we do the comparison. All right, so let's move on to the next topic for comparisons of strings. All right, so for comparisons of strings, there are several methods that we can use. The first one is equals, the next one is compare to, and again compare to is less than 0, compare to is equal 0, or compare to is greater than 0. And the first one means that A equals B, and the second one A comes before B. In Java, in the version of alphabetical order, the third one A equals B, which is exactly the same as the first syntax, which is A dot equals B. And the last one, if we use this kind of expressions for A and B, A comes after B in Java's version of alphabetical order. Let's have a look at one example. Let me go back to the IDE. And this time I'm going to declare two different string variables because we want to compare two strings. The first one, let's say hello, and the next one is B. We use, I write hello again. And we have one Boolean variable. I name it as maybe v1 is equal to A dot equals B. So I write a printf here, and I write here v1, or value 1 is equal %b for Boolean, and we pass the value of v1. All right. So what we are doing here, actually, we are comparing two strings. Note that whenever we want to compare two strings together, or two variables which they have type of a string, we must use equals method, right? So that is the way A dot equals B. What is A? A is the first variable. And what is B? B is the second variable, a string variable. We want to compare these two. You don't have to use A and B. You can choose str1, str2, and here I need to write str1 and str2. So basically it depends on the name of variables that you give to the variables. All right, so here we are comparing two strings, and if I run this, the output should be true because they are exactly the same strings. Another example, if I want to compare, let me change it a little bit. Let me change this to Robert. And this is a string 1, and a string 2 is equal to, let's use a method that we learned before using substring str1 substring, and I can pass two values, the first index and the last index. And finally I want to compare str1 with str2, but this time instead of str1 I'm gonna change it to Rob, right? So we want to say that Rob is equal to str2, and what is str2? Is the substring from index 0 up to index 3, but not including index 3, right? So the output should be true because it's going to be going to have exactly the same as str1 or Rob here, right? So it's true. So we cannot use something like, I cannot write Rob is equal to, let me use parentheses here, I cannot write something like Rob is equal to str2. Even though you don't get any error here, but this is incorrect, right? We don't use a double equal sign for comparison or for comparing two strings. We must use equals method, right? So this is correct. All right, so another example, let me change the first string to Java, the second string also to Java, and we want to compare str1 dot equals str2. So we want to compare these two. So as you see, they have the same values, but not exactly the same values, right? So the difference, as you may guess, is for the first string, we use lowercase letter j, but for the second string, we use uppercase letter j, right? So in the output, we should see false because they are not equal. And we know that Java is, yeah, we got false. And Java is a case sensitive and zero index programming language, right? So it's case sensitive, is important, and actually differentiate between lowercase and uppercase letters. They are not equal. And the reason is we use uppercase j and we use lowercase j in the first string. So string comparisons are case sensitive. Another example, if I want to write, let me write this hello, the second one world, and I want to use a different method that we have seen, which is compare to str2 is less than 0. str1, I'm going to add this parenthesis here. So str1 dot compare to str2 is less than 0. So basically str1 is a in our previous example and str2 is b. If we go back here, that is this syntax or this expression. A comes before B in Java's version of alphabetical order. So basically we are comparing A and B or str1 or str2 if A comes before B in the alphabetical order. And how it compares, the Java compiler compares character by character. The first character of str1 is H and the first character of str2 is W. So Java compares H with W, and H comes before W in the alphabetical order. So the comparison, the result is true. Let me run this and we see that the output is true. So we can say hello comes before world. What about if I change it to equal? Here, if I say str1 dot compare to str2 is equal or equal 0. So let me go back here. That is exactly the same as if you write a dot equals b. I prefer to use str1 dot equals str2 if I want to compare str1 and str2, but this is just another way of for comparison. So basically we are comparing these two and they are not equal, so the output will be false, as you see here. And similarly we can use the other syntaxes or the other different methods that we have used. For example, if it's greater than 0 or less than 0, that just we have seen. Another important thing when we want to compare two strings, let me write here, for example, if I use hello with capital and if I write hello with H, right? So in this example, we want to see that if A comes after B in Java's version of alphabetical order, right? So we have H, hello with lowercase letter h, and we have hello with uppercase letter, and we are comparing that if A comes after B or str1 comes after str2. In other words, the lowercase letter h comes after uppercase letter h, which is true, right? So uppercase letters come before lowercase letters. So the output here is true. As you see here is true. and the reason is the uppercase letters in Java come before lowercase letters. First we have uppercase letters and then lowercase letters. All right, so let's move on to the next topic, that is about logical operators. And this is the list of logical operators that can be used to produce Boolean results. And to work with these logical operators, we need to know also about the truth tables for or for and. But for now, let's have a look at the not, right? So if you use not a, it means that whatever a is, we want to change it to the opposite. For example, if value of a is false, we want to change it to true, or if it's true, we want to change it to false. And for this is the syntax for or, a or b. So if we write this but we read a or b, the next one is and. We write a ampersand ampersand b, but we read a and b. And the last one is not. We write the exclamation mark a, but we read not a. And here is the truth table for or and not, right? So let's say we have a and b. That is the truth table. This is the syntax for or, and this is the syntax for and in this column. A and a, if we use in or, it means that is true. If one of them, basically in or, if one of the either a or b is true, the result is true. So as you see, for the first one, both of them are true, so the result is true. And here in the second row, a is true, so the result is true. So minimum, we need to have at least one true. In this case, the result will be true in this column for or. And for the last one, we don't have true, so the result is false. But this is different for and. When we want to use the logical operators for and, it's different. All the inputs must be true, then the result or the output is true. In this case, the only input which is true is for a and b in the first row, so the result is true. But the rest is false, because in this row b is false, so it makes the output to be false. And similarly, here we have a is false, so the output is false. And the last one, both of them are false. For not is easier. Whatever the value of a is, we want to just change it to the opposite. If it's true, we change it to false. If it's false, we change it to true. So we will see several examples. We will be using the truth table in our programs, so don't worry about it. If you get confused, don't worry. We will be looking into several examples and you will learn about the logical operators. Alright, so let's head over to IntelliJ IDEA for writing the first example of logical operators. Alright, so let me delete these few lines. I'm going to declare two variables. One is x, has the value of 3. The next one is y, and assign value of 5 to it. And I'm going to declare another variable for Boolean. I name it as m is equal to, I want to compare x with number 3, and I want to use and here. And is the logical operator, and I want to combine it with another condition, y is less than 10. I'm going to print m is equal to %b, and I print m here. I declare another variable, Boolean, n is equal to, we want to compare x again with number 3, and logical operator, we want to compare y with number 10. We want to see that if y is greater than 10. And finally, we print n is equal to %b \n, and we print n. All right, so let me explain this for a quick. we have declared two variables, x and y, as integer, and I have declared two more variables for Boolean. The first one is we want to compare x with number 3. We want to compare if x is equal 3, which is true, and then we need to we have another condition, y is less than 10, which actually is y is less than 10. So it's true, the first one is true. Let me write it as a comment. The first one is true, and the second condition is also true. So the result of and, we need to have all the conditions must be true, then the output is true. So m gets the value of true. And the next one, we are comparing x with number 3, which is x is equal to 3 is true, but y is not greater than 10, right? The value of y is 5, which is false. So it will get the value of the first one is true and false, right? So true and false, let's have a look at this table. If we have true and false for and is false, right? So the result of the second expression here is false, but the first one is true because both of them are true, which is the first row here, true and true. So the result for A and B is true. All right, so we will see that the first one is true and the second one is false. The value of m is true because we have assigned it to variable m, and for the second one we have assigned it to variable n, which is false. All right, so now let me make some changes to this program. We have seen that the first one is true and the second one is false. Now, instead of using AND operator, I'm going to use OR, right? So I change it to OR, and for the second one, I'm going to change it to OR. So this time we are comparing these values, but we have used the logical operator of OR. True or true. True or true is true, right? So if both of them is true, the result for OR operator is true. So the first one is true, and the next one, x is equal to 3, which is true, and then the next comparison is false. So true or false, again, in this table, true or false is true, right? So we should see both of them are true. If I run it, and we will see both of them are true. Okay, let me make some changes here. I'm going to delete this, and also I'm going to delete this as well. All right, so instead of writing x equal 3, I'm going to add one exclamation mark, right? So remember, exclamation mark we use for not, right? So let's see, x is equal 3. First, we need to evaluate the value which we have inside parentheses. X is equal to true. The answer is true because x has the value of 3, but we have changed it. The result will be true, but outside this parentheses, we use exclamation mark, which is not. Whatever the value is, we change it to the opposite. So it's true, we use not, so the opposite of true is false, right? So the result for this will be false. And for the second one, I'm going to add something like x is equal 4 and add the exclamation mark here, right? So x is equal 4. X is not equal 4. So the result inside parentheses will be false, but we use not outside this parentheses. So it will change it to true, right? So we should see false and true in the output. If I run this, we will see that the first one is false and the second one is true. Let me make some other changes here. I'm going to assign one parenthesis here, x is equal to y, and then I add logical operator, x plus y is equal to, let's say, number 8. That is for the first one, and for the second one, I'm gonna add one more parenthesis here. Let me delete this. X is equal 4, not equal 4. Let me compare it with y. And I'm going to use OR operator. And for the second condition, x plus y is equal to 8. Right? So it should be easy now. Let's have a look at this together. For the left side of this AND logical operator, we are comparing x is equal y. So immediately we should say that the result is false because x is 3 and y is 5 and they are not equal, right? And it doesn't matter what the rest of the expressions are. If we see one false and if we use AND operator, it means that the result will be false. As you may recall from the truth table, if you want to use AND logical operator, all the comparisons must be true. In that case only the result is true. So we don't even have to evaluate the rest of the expressions here. So we go to the next one. For the next one, we are comparing x is equal to, so the answer is false, right? So they are not equal, but we have used OR. So let's have a look at the second condition. X plus y, 3 plus 5 is 8. So it's true. So the second condition is true. So we get, in this example, we get the first one is false or true, right? And based on the truth table here, if you use OR, if one of them is true and one of them is false, the result is true, right? So we should see false, and for the second one, we should see true, right? So the first is false, the second is true. And as we can see here, we got false and true. All right, so let's have a look at the conditionals or if statements in Java. I'm going to delete these lines. We don't need them anymore. Basically, the if condition is very important in programming language, in every programming language, not only Java. So we have learned about logical operators because we wanted to use them in if statements. If statements are very important. Let me declare two variable integers, x is equal 0 and int y is equal, let's say 1. And the syntax for writing condition is if, then we need to write a Boolean here. So Boolean here, it can be a Boolean variable, or we can directly use the comparison. Something like x is equal y, then we should open the braces and we should close it. And we write our statements. If the condition is true, then we would like to execute whatever we have between these two braces here, right? So remember that you should add the braces. So it identifies the beginning and end of this block of code. If the condition is true, we want to say that x is equal to y. And then if the condition is not true, we write else, right? So we write else. Again, we use open and closing braces here. And we write s out or s ou for printf, x is not equal to y. All right, so let me run this program and we should see the second statement or the second printf, x is not equal to y, which they are not, right? So x is 0 and y is 1. They are not equal. So as you may guess, for the if condition, if we use conditionals, if we use if statements, if the condition is true, if this condition or Boolean expression, if it's true, then we execute, or Java executes, the block of code that we have between these two braces, opening and closing braces. And if the condition is not true, in this case, actually in this example, the condition is not true, it evaluates to false because x is not equal y, then it goes to the else part. So it will execute whatever we have in the block of code in the else part. So in this example, x is not equal to y. Let me write another example here to use if statements. Let's say that we want to get an input from user. If we want to get input from user, we need to import java.util.scanner. So I'm going to quickly write this. We want to ask user, how old are you? And user can enter a number, which is the age, and we need to use next int. Recall that if we want to get an integer from user, we need to use next int. And after that, I'm going to write the condition here, age. If age is less than 21, open and closing braces, then I'm going to print something on the screen. For example, how about some milk? And in the else part, I'm going to print a different message. How about some beer? Cool. Let me run this program. Forgot to add the \n, but that is fine. Okay, so how old are you? Let me enter 18, and we see that how about some milk, right? So let me change this to printf, and let me run this again. How old are you? I'm going to enter 23, and how about some beer? Cool, right? So by using conditionals, by using if statement, we are able to direct our program to different block of code. Here we have only one single line, and we are saying to Java that if the condition is true, then execute this line, and if the condition is not true, which means that the age is greater than 21, then we want to print the second one, right? Or the else part. So let's have a look at another example. I'm gonna make some changes to this program. I'm gonna add if age is greater than or equal 40. I'm gonna add one more condition. I'm gonna combine it with this. I use and another condition here. And if age is less than or equal 60, we want to print. Let me copy this line 2 more times, and we can write something here. You are middle-aged, \n. Another one, you are not young. \n, and the last one, you are not old. Okay, if I enter, let me run this program, and if I enter any number between 40 and 60 inclusive, we will get these three messages. If we enter something which is not in this range, we won't see anything in the screen. Let me enter 25 and we don't see anything in the output. And if I run this one more time, and this time I'm going to enter any number between 40 and 60, let's say 55, and we get these three messages. You are middle-aged, you are not young, and you are not old. So what I'm trying to say here is the else part of an if statement is optional. For example, we didn't use any else part in this example. So the else part is optional, but we could add the else part to it. Let me add it now. Else if the condition is not true, we want to print you are not middle-aged. And the next one, I'm gonna print you are either young or old. And if I run this time, and if I enter 25, we see that you are not middle-aged, you are either young or old, right? So these two messages, it goes to the else part because the condition is not true. The condition here is not true, so it goes to the else part. Now also we can make some changes to this program. We can use if else parts. I can make it something like, let me add here, if age is less than 18, I want to print you are not adult. Printf you are not adult. And we can add else if, and we check another condition. If the first condition is not true, it goes to the second condition. We check if it's less than 40. We can write, let's use printf, you are a young adult. And let's add another else if here, and the condition is if age is less than 60, we want to print that you are middle-aged. Let me copy from here and paste it here. And if none of the conditions above true, it goes to the else part. And finally, we can print that you are middle-aged citizen. Let me delete these few lines. All right, beautiful. So we have combined few conditions together. First, we want to check that if the age is less than 18, we want to print this statement. If age is less than 40, we want to print this, and similarly for 60. And if none of the conditions met, it goes to the else part. For example, the condition that it goes to the else part is if age is greater than 60. If I enter 65, the output is you are a middle-aged citizen. If I enter something like 15, the output is you are not adult, right? So we have covered almost all the possibilities in this example. All right, as you see here, we have added these braces to indicate that if this condition is met or if this condition is true, then we want to execute only this line, and if the condition is false, it goes to the next, and so on and so forth. But if we have only one single statement for the condition, it's not required, right? For example, in the last part, I don't have to add these braces. So if I can delete it from here and also from here, because we have only one single statement or one single expression here, one single printf here, so we don't have to use the braces. But if we have more than one, we should include it. Let me give you one example. Let me delete this line. Let's say that a is equal to 7, and we have a condition: if a is greater than 5, then we can print something like a is greater than 5. So that's the message, right? So in this example, we don't have to use the braces, but it can lead to bugs when you add more lines. So this is really recommended to use braces, right? So you should use braces because it may lead to bugs when you add more lines. So remember, whenever you create an if statement, you should add the braces, the opening and closing braces. The reason is, if I add another line here, for example, print something, and what it does here, if a is greater than 5, then it will be executed. So the question is, if a is less than 5, so what happens? So if I enter, for example, number 4, we still see print something, right? But the condition is not true. So as I said, if we don't add the braces, only the first statement after if will be considered. In this example is this one. But if we meant to print both print statements, we should use these braces. So it's a good practice to always consider or to always add the braces, even though if it's only one single line. All right, so to recap, we have talked about Boolean types and also about if conditional, about the conditionals. We have seen the example of if-else statements. All right, so that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and see you soon in the next video.